everyone, and thank you for being here this evening to learn about our BSW program in the Faculty of Social Work at the University of Calgary. And you're welcome to have your cameras on or off, totally up to you. We are recording this session. We will leave some time at the end for some questions. So if you think of a question, please just mark it down. We'd like to kind of share the content of our presentation first, and I think you'll find that may answer some of your questions. You may have some questions remaining, and we can talk about those when we've shared this information with you. So my name is Carrie Galbranson. I'm the undergraduate program director located in Calgary, and I'm also an instructor in the BSW program. So I'm really excited to tell you about the BSW program and how you can apply and all the details around that. So before we launch into some introductions, I would like to share a land acknowledgement with you, a priority that we share in our Faculty of Social Work community and the University of Calgary is to honor Indigenous peoples and communities in our learning, practice, and faculty business. We also think about and discuss how we can work together to be better guests on the land and how we can take care of the land and the people who live on it. So sharing a land acknowledgement recognizes that many of us are guests on the land and also encourages us all at a personal level to take tangible actions towards being more ethical and respectful guests on the land and towards reconciliation. So Patty Jo, if I could ask you to advance the slide.
Okay, are you seeing it again? Or I don't know, I feel like I've messed this slideshow up.
I think, I think we just need to go one back, sorry.
Okay.
There we go. Yeah, thank you so much. So we acknowledge the homeland of the many diverse First Nations and Métis people whose ancestors have walked this land since time immemorial. We are grateful to work, live, and learn on the traditional territories of Treaty 6, 7, and 8, and various Métis regions. So I realize that many of you are joining us today from across Alberta and perhaps even across Canada. And our programs are offered in Treaty 6, 7, and 8, and various Métis regions, which is why we acknowledge those regions in our land acknowledgement. As well, to share some of the Faculty of Social Work values and priorities, we strongly oppose and condemn systemic racism, white supremacy, and discrimination in all its forms. We stand in solidarity with those who experience the injustices of racism and those who strive tirelessly to end anti-Black racism. We also acknowledge the inequities experienced by visible minorities, Indigenous people, persons with disabilities, people who self-identify as two-spirit, gay, lesbian, bisexual, transsexual, transgender, or queer, as well as people who have experienced other barriers to their education. And next slide, please. Okay, so we hope that this information session will answer some of the questions that you have about the BSW program in our faculty. We're going to start with some welcome and introductions so that you know who we are. We'll talk about the admission requirements, some program options, the application process, the evaluation criteria, and we'll give you an idea of how you can contact us to seek further information or help with answering questions about the application. So as I mentioned, I've already introduced myself, but I'm joined tonight by two colleagues, Patty Jo Aiken and let's see, and TJ, as well as I'm going to call in TJ and Patty to introduce themselves at this point. So I'll turn the mic over to you, Patty Jo, and then to TJ.
Okay, I'm going to pause the sharing there so maybe you can see our faces. I'm Patty Jo Aiken. I'm a student advisor in the Southern Alberta region. So I work out of Lethbridge. I've worked with the faculty for more than 1 decade. That's what I'll say about that. So I have a lot of experience with this BSW program and working with undergrad students. And I'm happy to be here tonight to help Carrie. And TJ is going to help us with the chat. And I'll turn it over to TJ. We also have Camille with recruitment with us tonight too, so she can introduce herself to everyone. We'll let TJ go first.
Thank you, Carrie. I'm Patty Jo. I'm TJ. I'm the student advisor on Calgary-based program for the Calgary-based program. And thank you for joining us. And I recognize some of the names maybe we've met before. So thanks for joining us.
All right, so I'll just take a quick second as well to introduce myself. Good evening, everyone. My name is Camille Antioquia. I'm one of the student recruitment advisors for the undergraduate recruitment team at the University of Calgary, and I'm just here to support today with any sort of more of the application, maybe technical stuff that you might have questions about. I work mostly with our incoming students who are going through the application process. But if you have any questions as well, of course, we have some great people here tonight. We're more than happy to help.
Okay, thank you to my colleagues. And sorry, Camille, I meant to introduce you at the beginning as well, but thank you so much for being here. Okay. So let's continue on. I'll have some information to share with you before handing the mic to Patty Jo. So So I'd like to tell you a bit about the Faculty of Social Work at the University of Calgary. As the slide indicates, we're the largest social work school in Canada, and we offer BSW, master's, and doctoral degrees. Our programs are accredited by the Canadian Association of Social Work Education. And what that means for you as a student and as a potential graduate of the program, that means that you're going to graduate from an accredited program, and then you'll be eligible for professional registration following your graduation. So that is, I think, an important thing to look for when you are shopping for social work programs. We also offer our programs in Calgary, Edmonton, Lethbridge, and online. So for the online program, we do have students across Canada that take that are able to take our online program, and we'll be telling you a bit more about the program options during this presentation. So we have a large student community, and of our 1,000+ students, about 60% are undergraduate students, 40% are graduate students, that being MSW and PhD students. Something that we're really proud of in our faculty is that we have an internationally recognized research program, and that's reflected in our curriculum. So you really, as a student, you have access to instructors who are doing really cutting edge research, and many of our researchers are globally recognized. Of course, University of Calgary is a research intensive university, so that and our faculty definitely reflects that, but you have that access to research. And I know that's something I've always appreciated as a student. Of course, we have our access to research through our library, but then we also have access to the people who are actually doing the research. So that's quite exciting. Much of it is practice-based research as well. So, and we do have an emphasis in our program on research-informed practice. So that's really something we have to offer as a faculty. And I think I know that a number of prospective students are coming from different academic backgrounds, but something I'll just add to this and share with you is that our program accommodates both post-diploma and university transfer students. And so, you can come into social work from a different academic discipline, either as an after degree student or with 2 years worth of transferable courses. And it really is an ideal program for students with a variety of academic interests. You can learn about work with different populations and about different aspects of the human experience. There's really unlimited potential for learning in social work learning. And as well, and this isn't common to all undergraduate programs, but earning a BSW degree, you're ready to go into practice, and you can look forward to really diverse opportunities for working in the field when you graduate from a BSW program. So I went a bit over and above there, but I think it's important to mention some of those other pluses. Okay, and I'm going to pass the mic to Patty Jo to talk to you about some of the details, including the routes to the BSW.
Okay, well, my apologies for messing up the screen sharing view that you had. I have 2 monitors and I was sharing the wrong monitor. So thank you, TJ, for getting us on the right track. So there are 2 routes to the BSW program. You can come in with an Alberta social work diploma and complete 2 years with us to get your BSW, or you can come in as a university transfer student or after you've completed another degree. So a university transfer student would be somebody who's taken 20 courses at either a college or university that transfer to the University of Calgary. You would come in and then complete 2 years. So I will just cover the admission requirements for both programs and start with the social work diploma route. So the first requirement is that you complete your diploma, your Alberta social work diploma, from an, stumbling over my words here, from an accepted university or college that has a transfer agreement with the University of Calgary. So not all Alberta social work diplomas have the transfer agreement. Most of them do, but not all of them. So the next requirement is that you complete 24 non-transferable non-social work courses. And this is 8 courses that are usually part of your social work diploma. Grade point average of 2.3 or higher on the 4.0 scale. Now that's a University of Calgary entrance requirement, as well as the English 30-1 or acceptable equivalent, and proficiency in the English language. So if you've taken your coursework, or you've come from a country that is non-speaking, or well, most countries speak, I think, but maybe not English, non-English speaking is what I should have said, then you would have to pass a TOEFL exam or other ways to show proficiency. So I will mention too that we will get the list of everyone that signed up for this course, and you'll notice that there's a lot of live links in this presentation. So we will email you the presentation so that you have access to all the live links, and we'll do that tomorrow for you. Okay, so the last note is all the courses must be completed by the end of the winter term, with the exception of practicum and associated social work courses where the institution has an agreement with the University of Calgary. So some colleges finish their practicum a little bit later than other colleges, and the students are still able to come into the program. Okay, so the admission requirements for the university transfer after degree route are successful completion of a minimum of 57 units of transferable non-social work courses and Social Work 201, Introduction to Social Work, or its equivalent. So 57 units of transferable non-social work courses is 19 courses, plus Social Work 201 is 20 courses. The Social Work 201 course is offered at a number of institutions across Alberta, and that's what we speak of when we say it's equivalent. You can also hold an undergraduate degree in another discipline from a recognized institution, and then you also would need to pick up the Social Work 201 or its equivalent. You also, like the diploma students, would have to have a grade point average of 2.3 or higher on the 4.0 scale. And you need to meet the English requirement, so English 30-1 or an acceptable equivalent. If you've completed a degree, you've definitely met that English requirement. So it says here that it's not applicable to after degree applicants, but the reason for that is that you've met the requirement with your degree. And again, proficiency in the English language. And we have a note here that all courses must be completed by the end of the winter term. So by the end of April, you have to have those 20 courses completed. Okay, so Social Work 201. University transfer and after degree route students. Social Work 201 is our only required course. We have it required because it gives students an introduction to the social work profession, the values and ethics, and what social work actually is. So we feel it's really critical that students have this course before coming into our program so that they know whether this is a good fit for them as a career. The course is offered online in every term through the University of Calgary. If you're a current University of Calgary student, you can self-register through your student center. And if you're a non-University of Calgary student right now, you can take the course as an open studies student. And here's a link to the information on how to get into that course as an open studies student. Okay, so now we're going to talk a little bit about the different program options. So we have programs like Carrie was mentioning in Calgary, Edmonton, Lethbridge, and also online. The online program has face-to-face residencies in Calgary and Edmonton, and those happen for 1 week in the this year it's either in January, the first week of January, or the other option is February during reading week. Not sure if next year will be the same, but that kind of gives you an idea of what the expectation is. The in-person BSW available at those 3 campuses I mentioned. Your program will follow the University of Calgary semester schedule and begin in the fall term, regardless of what location you're at. All the core courses are offered in 3-hour blocks on weekdays. So that means your courses would run like Monday morning 9 to 12, and just once a week you would take that course. The electives, which you will require 3 in your program, are offered in the spring term and some in fall and winter in different formats. So in class, face-to-face, online, or in a block format. And the block format, if you're not from the University of Calgary, is where you would take the course for 5 days in a row from 9 to 4. So courses will run year round, including spring and or summer in your program. You must be available to complete your degree with a full-time 3 to 5 day a week practicum during your final year. So we just like to make students aware that in that final year, when you are doing your practicums, you will need to be available during the day because most agencies are open to the public during the day, and it's impossible to do your practicum on a part-time basis. Okay, so the virtual or online BSW provides social work education for professionals who wish to remain in their home communities while completing their BSW degree. The curriculum has a cultural and geographic relevance that's sensitive to Indigenous people. It's delivered through the blended learning approach, integrating web-based instruction with some face-to-face class time in Calgary or Edmonton. So you'll go for those block weeks in Calgary or Edmonton, and you choose when you apply and be admitted to the program. And again, you must be available to complete your degree with full-time 3 to 5 days a week practicum during your final semester. Okay, and you can do your practicum in your home community. Okay, important considerations for virtual applicants. So the program is still full-time, even though it's only 3 courses per term. it says full-time with a minimum of 9 units, 2 courses. Not sure what that means because it's really 3 courses. You take courses year round and it'll take you 24 months to complete. The final step of your program will be your practicum in the spring and summer at the end, and then you'll convocate in November. It's mandatory to attend a week-long course each winter. So like I mentioned, either in January or February on campuses, either in Edmonton or Calgary, and that is face-to-face. Courses will follow the University of Calgary semester schedule with set start and end dates and specific assignment deadlines. You'll need to have reliable and regular access to a computer and the internet, and you need to be comfortable communicating online in a group environment, both written discussion and real-time web conference sessions. So most of the virtual learning circles courses are offered in the evenings, like from 6 to 8, 1 night a week. So that's kind of what the schedule looks like. And then the second course. So one course is 2 courses combined for 6 units, and then there's an additional course. So it's a total of two courses, but really they're weighted as 3. God, that was confusing. I apologize. Moving on. So curriculum plans. To find out how each of our programs are structured and what courses you would take, you can go, and like I said, I'll send you this presentation so you can click these live links. But if you go onto our website, you can look at the current students and then choose the program you're interested in. And you can find things like course outlines there, timetables, the curriculum plans, and which will have all the names of the courses and things. And you can kind of get a look at what the program will look like once you're admitted. Okay, so now we're going to talk about your application and how to navigate through that. So the procedure for the application is first to review the detailed application instructions. So our team has put together some really good instructions on how to apply for students to read over. There are a number of pieces to our application, so it can get a little overwhelming and confusing and does tend to create a lot of questions from students. So it is good to go and take a look and read through these instructions. The next step is to go ahead and log into the University of Calgary or click on the link to start your application online. For any of you that are already a University of Calgary student, it would just mean a program change to apply. But for anyone outside of the University of Calgary taking classes, you'll start over with an online application. So while you're doing the online application, you need to be prepared to provide contact information for your 2 references. And once you've paid the application fee, your references will get an email with the form for them to fill out to complete the questions about your suitability of the social work profession. I'll talk more about the different components of the application a little bit forward here in the presentation. So step 3 is to upload the other pieces of your application, the essay and the resume, in using with the links through your student center. So you have until March 1st, which is the deadline to apply, to upload those documents. Actually, you have till March 8th. We give you a week after the deadline to apply. And then the transcript deadline is March 15th. So those transcripts would be for unofficial transcripts because of course you wouldn't have finished your final term, and those grades will come automatically transferred to us electronically. But unofficial transcripts we need by March 15th. Okay, the other note here is you have to choose one location to apply to. So you can't apply to the online program and the Lethbridge program and hope you get into one of them. You just can only choose one at the time of application. Okay, so this is what your student center will look like. This is where you find out your application status. We recommend that you take a look at this frequently. You can see here that it says the to-do list. This is where the admissions office will ask you for maybe things like a change of name information, or proof of change of name, legal name change, your residency documents, those kinds of things, and transcripts that we still require if they haven't been transferred. This link here where it says upload or view is where you will upload your resume and your essay. Okay, so when you've submitted your application, this is the criteria that we are going to evaluate it on. So 60% of your score will come from your GPA, 20% will come from your relevant work or volunteer experience, 10% will come from your admission essay, and 5% each from your references, so 10% from references. So GPA, I'm just going to get a drink of water here and let you guys read this slide. So GPA is calculated by the admissions office, and then it's provided to us to review with the rest of your application. The calculation's based on the most recent completed 30 units, starting with courses completed prior to the application deadline. So the courses you take this semester will get your grades at Christmas or middle of December, and we'll use those grades and count back 10 to get your GPA. So we use 10 courses or 30 units. If we have to break up a term to get to 10 courses, so say you've taken 4 courses per term, we will pull out the highest grades from that last term. So that benefits students. The competitive GPA to get into our programs is usually a 3.3 or higher. Now, the GPA to get into the online program is usually much higher than that. It's our most competitive program with the most applications coming in for it each year. The resume. So what we're looking for in your resume is your human service experience, either paid or volunteer. So
sorry, did you say the online the VCL is the competitive?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes, it is most competitive of our programs.
Okay.
Okay, so your resume should include your previous education and your work and or volunteer experience. So list your experience, work and volunteer separately. And we ask that you supply us with a total number of hours for each position, as well as a grand total at the end. List practicums and internships separately from your work and volunteer experience. For roles that are not directly human service related, highlight the transferable skills. So let me give you a little explanation of that. When we ask you for the total number of hours for the position, the reason that we're asking for that is our faculty members and our team that decides our admissions committee doesn't have time to try and guess how much time you spent volunteering. So I'll give you an example. I once volunteered for victim services and it was with the RCMP. So it took really, really long time for me to get my security clearance. So although I was a volunteer with them for almost a year, the number of hours that I actually was out on calls was very small. Most of my volunteer hours were just the weekly or the monthly board meetings, which was maybe 3 hours a month. So for the better part of a year, I was 3 hours a month in that volunteer role. So you can understand how saying I volunteered for a year there is very confusing. So we ask you to give us numbers so that we don't have to guess, and make the numbers big and clear so that people spend the least amount of time trying to figure out what you're telling us. It's to your benefit to do that. Some of the people who review the applications, if you don't tell us the number of hours, might score you 0. Just don't know how the person's going to react to that. For the roles that are not directly human service related. So I get a lot of questions from students about things like, say, basketball coach. So you coach some kids in basketball, is that human service related? Well, yeah, you're working with humans, but how is that related to social work? Well, it might not be a clear connection for people, but you might be able to elaborate for us that you had some kids that were in really bad family situations that needed some extra support after practice and needed an adult to listen to them, or maybe one of your kids had a sick parent and also needed some support. So those are kind of things that are valuable for us to know and that you could share in a few words on your resume. Okay, so Carrie, did you have anything that you want to add? Like if you want to jump in on these parts, because you've evaluated from the other side of this, you know, evaluated the applications before.
Yeah, I'd absolutely be happy to, and I am part of the team that looks at evaluating applications. So, and yeah, we do involve several faculty members in that process actually. So sometimes you think, oh, you know, I wrote an essay. Is anyone actually going to read it? And the answer is yes, we absolutely do. Because it is a way to get to know each applicant. It's a chance for you to introduce yourself as a human being and a prospective social worker. Because GPA is a number, and you know, your resume might talk about some highlights from your experience, but in your essay, particularly in the personal statement, you have a chance to elaborate on what all of those mean. So for example, you know, maybe some of your experiences, maybe you have some lived experiences with social issues. Perhaps there was a really transformational either employment or volunteer experience that you've had. Perhaps you've experienced some barriers in your education journey so far. And it's, you know, it's a good chance to introduce yourself and why and what interests you about, you know, what are your career goals? Where do you see yourself in the social work profession when you graduate? And what populations do you enjoy working with? Those sorts of questions are what you can talk about there. And as well, for part two, you're going to do an analysis of a social issue or problem. And this is really a chance to demonstrate your academic writing skills. And it is important to look at this as an academic writing activity. So you want to hand in a polished draft versus, you know, the first draft. So it could be a really good idea. Something I recommend is that, you know, perhaps a couple of people could read your essay, and you might want to go through a couple of iterations of your essay to create the final version. You will want to demonstrate command of APA citation and referencing, and definitely including references, because it is an academic program. It's important to demonstrate that you're able to synthesize and analyze research. So with that in mind, you'll also want to make sure you go beyond just summarizing literature to really have your own voice in there. So what that might look like, you know, with the critical analysis of literature, maybe you'll relate some of those, some of your analysis to your personal or professional experiences, or perhaps you have policy or practice recommendations. But if you can include that critical analysis part of the essay, then that can really set your essay apart from a summary of the literature. And of course, we do look at clarity, content, and writing ability. So that was a very lengthy explanation, but I think it is worth mentioning that it is worth spending some time on the essay.
So one of the things that I've been asked every time I do one of these presentations, I get a question or students are confused about how to link that part one, the personal reasons, with the social problem. So I use this example all the time. My kids both had ADHD, and I had lots of troubles with them in junior high and high school. And so if I was applying, I would write about that experience and how it was very difficult as a parent to navigate the system. And then for my social problem, I might write about the percentage of children diagnosed with ADHD who actually graduate from high school rather than drop out. or dropout rates of ADHD students. So that kind of gives you an idea how you can link something from your personal experience to do a research essay on. And I don't know if you find that helpful, but that is an idea anyway. Of course, you don't have to use that idea.
Yeah, I really like how you connected the kind of personal experience and then kind of moving into and then the social issues analysis will be related to that. So I think that's a fabulous example. Thank you for sharing that, Patty Jo.
Yeah, our documents and information about how to apply always say that you have to link that, and then students really struggle with, well, how do I do that without oversharing? so I kind of come up with that example and makes sense. So it gives you some ideas anyway. So the next slide is on your references. So we ask that you provide us with 2 referees, one being an academic, so someone who can speak to your academic performance and ability. We want to use someone that was a professor or a practicum instructor, somebody who's taught you, preferably in post high school education. So I get that question a lot. Can I use a high school teacher? And yeah, probably not the best. So try and get somebody who's taught you in university or college. The other reference would be from somebody who's supervised you, a professional reference, and who can speak to your suitability for undergraduate studies in social work. So that again, one of the tips that I usually speak to is make sure that you are asking someone if they'll give you a positive reference, because the answer might not be the same if you just ask, will you give me a reference? You can think about that for a minute. It happens in our office with our professors. They get asked by students who they don't feel like they can give a positive reference to, and it kind of puts them in an awkward spot. So keep that in mind while you're thinking about who you could ask. Also, just a note, same as with the job reference, please don't use family, friends, aunts, uncles, those kinds of people, or somebody that you work with. That's not a suitable reference.
Yeah, something I could add here, just, a couple of pieces of advice here with the references. The more information you can provide the people you ask, the better. I would highly recommend sharing your resume with somebody that you ask for a reference, and even offering additional information about your experience. I think that and the more notice that you can give those people, the better. You'll just you'll get a more detailed and meaningful reference that way, by kind of exercising that professional courtesy of providing notice and information as well.
Yeah, and they might ask you for your unofficial transcript so that they can see what your grades are in other courses besides the one that they've taught you. So you can, offer that to them if they ask. I mean, of course, it's up to you, but that's something that our professors have done before, ask students for grades. Okay, so typically, or not typically, but often we have students who have been out of school for more than 5 years or are from another country, and they have a hard time submitting academic references. So they don't feel like there's anybody left that taught them at the institution they attended, or they just can't get a hold of people. So we do allow you to submit 2 professional references if you fall into that category. So 2 people that have supervised you, and then we ask you to explain your reason why you didn't submit an academic reference in the program specific questions. So when you're filling out your application, there's going to be a series of questions there. The very last question will say, is there any other information you'd like us to know? And that's where you want to tell us, yes, I couldn't submit an academic reference because I'm from another country and couldn't get a hold of anybody, or whatever your reason is. And that's the last question, the program specific questions. So we we'll send that email out once you pay for your application, and it's an online reference form that will be submitted immediately to your referees. A lot of time your referees, these emails go to the junk folder or clutter. So please contact them and ensure that they've gotten the form from us, the email from the University of Calgary. If they didn't, you can contact FSW Student Services email and ask it to be resent. You will get an email confirming that the email's been sent, so you'll know that it's out there. If the referee didn't get it, then you need to reach out to us or ask them to check their clutter. If the referees haven't filled the form out by the deadline, which is a week after, it's March 8th as well, you can see that in your student center. You'll be able to see when the referees have submitted the reference. So that will come off your to-do list. And so if it's still there and it's cutting close, you do need to be in touch with them and get them to submit it. Give them some reminders. Okay, so we're coming up at the end here, the review process. So each year we get way more applications than we have seats to fill. So your application is first assessed on its own and then in relation to other applicants. Based on our evaluation, the faculty will make a recommendation to admissions by late May or early June, and you should get an offer from them from admissions in an email to your University of Calgary email account that you will set up. You need to be checking the status in your student center and monitor your emails for updates. And the capacity of our program is limited, so not all qualified applicants can be admitted. Okay, now we've reached the question period. TJ's been monitoring our chat window, so she can bring forward any common questions and then we'll open it up.
Yeah, so I tried to answer as many questions as possible, but there are some questions I think many people could benefit hearing the answer. So do you have a sample resume that you can share? This is a question that I get a lot, so I think it would be helpful.
Okay, we don't. I don't know that we do have a sample resume that we can pass out to people. It's a great idea, though. We should bring that up in our student services meeting. Hey, Carrie, what do you think of that?
Yeah, I think that it could be useful. You know, I think in the meantime, like you can, if you use a fairly standard resume, if your choice is fine. I think the only thing that differentiates this application resume from a resume that you might use to apply for a job position would be that kind of the number of hours allocated to each position. So that's how it would be different. And Sophie, thank you for your question. I mentioned, and I think this is a great idea, that a number of you may have completed training and certifications, so you can definitely include those in your resume as well. I think that really speaks to kind of ongoing professional learning, and so that that is taken into consideration as well. But yeah, that is a really great idea, and maybe there's a way that we could provide an example like that. So. But definitely, I think, if you hand in, same with the essay, if you do a really thorough edit to make sure everything's clear, free of grammatical and spelling errors, and you could follow, there's some, I think, good examples you can find online too of a social work, specifically a social work resume even. That might be a tool for you in the meantime.
Another question, does the recruiting committee review the application in the order they are submitted? Wondering if submitting now or next January will make a difference.
Okay, so that's an excellent question that I thought was somewhere in the slideshow. I probably missed it in the notes. I'm supposed to probably bring it up. The Faculty of Social Work does not review applications in the order they're received. We wait until we have all the GPAs calculated and then send them to the team, the committee to review. They are usually reviewed by 2 different committee members and scored, and then we combine the scores. However, the admissions office does review applications in the order that they are received. So it is an excellent idea to apply now so that your application will be, your GPA will be calculated and it'll all be reviewed and sent to us as quickly as possible. If you wait till the end, then we're waiting, and then it just takes longer to get our admission referrals back to admissions so that they can send you the emails offering you a seat. So sooner is better.
This is again about resume. Is there preference given to volunteer experience over related work experience on the resume?
I do not think so.
No, I would agree. And I think it's more like, to make it clear how it's related or directly related to social work. So even, if it's a customer service role that you have experience with, well, then you can, perhaps you've dealt with grievances or responded to kind of customer concerns, something like that, like a really specific kind of communication points there that that would be related. It may not be directly related, but it's still related because you're going to use a wide variety of communication skills in any social work role. So I really draw attention to those parts.
Thank you, Carrie. Another question, this is also related to resumes. So this is about training and certifications. I think maybe this is repeating the same things, but are things like brain story and assist required for admission or helpful to have on resumes? So a distinction maybe is needed.
No, we don't have requirements for any, what would you call that, Carrie? Professional development kind of courses?
Certifications, yeah.
Yeah, certifications. I think what they're commonly referred to as micro-credentials, where it's kind of not like a full course, but it's nevertheless a training, and it's something that you apply to social work practice. And you'll certainly encounter, like, in the program, we encourage students to take those additional trainings to kind of follow their interests, but there's not specific ones that are required for admission, no.
Thank you. This is about Social Work 201. If we are taking Social Work 201 in the winter semester along with another course, are they accounted for in our application GPA? So if anyone else missed this part, I think it's important to repeat. Are the winter semester courses included in the application GPA?
No, they are not. We count the grades from this term, so this fall term, back 10 courses. So we can't include the winter grades because we need to get our offer of admissions out as soon as we possibly can. So we used to wait and try and do this really quick turnaround thing, but our application numbers have gotten so high that we just decided to use fall grades and count back. Now, having said that, you still need to pass your winter courses and maintain your GPA standard that you have maintained throughout your programming, but we don't count those grades.
Thank you, Patty Jo.
Sorry. So
Sorry, go ahead. Yeah, I was.
Can I talk now?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah.
So that means you have to take the social work 2010 before winter. So like this semester, for instance, you should take it within this semester or before this fall 2023.
You would have to take it from January to April to be eligible to be admitted for fall 23.
So you can take it. Let me go again. So if you've not taken it before this year, fall 2022, you can take it next year and still apply.
You can take it in winter 23
Mm-hmm.
and still be eligible for fall 23 admission. Yes.
Oh, okay. Because you said you have to take it this year and back, this fall and back like the previous semesters.
No, I was talking about how we calculate your GPA, your grade point average for admission. We use the fall grades and then count back 10 courses.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
I have a question.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so today I tried to apply and I applied I went through to the University of Calgary and then it says like the walkthrough information and then I had to make like an EID account. I also had to make my Alberta digital ID and I got quite far into almost submitting that application. And then it just said that I had to call a helpline and that it wouldn't fully go through. And then, so now that I'm in this webinar, I seen there's a link that you posted and that will take me to like a thing that you called like my something.
Center?
Yeah, my student center. So then
Mhm.
I'm like, okay, so was I in a total wrong place to
No.
apply?
No, your student center is something that will show up and be available. It's kind of like your space on the University of Calgary interface. So
Okay.
you'll have to get through the application process and pay your money before you'll be able to get to your student center.
Okay, because I took the Indigenous webinar a couple days ago and it waived my fee and I have till Wednesday to do this. So I might have to get a hold of somebody, right, to help me with that part.
Yeah, Mary, sorry, I'd encourage you. I'm not too sure how far along in the process you are, but I would encourage you to send us an email. I'll put the link I put the email in the chat. But we do have our Indigenous recruiter who is supporting with processing the application fee waiver for our Indigenous students who attended the webinar. So I
Okay.
don't know, that may not have been processed yet. If it was only yesterday or a few days ago, it might take some time. But I'd encourage you, if you are having trouble, if it hasn't been submitted yet, to send us an email so we can flag it right away to our Indigenous recruitment team.
Awesome. Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, no worries.
Okay, anyone else have any questions?
Hey,
I
this is-
do.
Oh,
Go
sorry,
ahead.
this is Nancy.
Go ahead, Nancy.
Yeah, I was just wondering with the how you count back for the GPA, you count back 10 courses. I was just wondering, or I just want to make sure, that's just for university transfer courses, right? Because I have one course that doesn't have a very good grade at all, but it doesn't actually transfer to, like, it doesn't say UT transfer for the course. So I just didn't know if you would just be counting back just 10 classes just in general, or if it had to be a university transfer course.
They will likely count it if it falls within 10.
Okay.
Yeah, unfortunately, sorry.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I think on that as well, we will, when we were, the main reason why we do request for the transcripts is our admissions team will review the courses that you have completed to evaluate. I think it's really tough, especially on to say for sure if it's academic or transferable, but we do have to go through the evaluation process to find out if it's academic or transferable in nature, to count that towards the GPA calculation. Although I know that if it is part of the transfer agreement, then you may get like block credit for that, and that may be part of the GPA and calculation. But yeah, we won't know for sure like 100% until we look through the transcripts, but there is a good chance, but we can't say for sure.
Okay, thank you.
Did someone else have a question?
I do. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I just have two quick questions. So I was thinking of either applying for the winter semester for the social work 201, but that won't finish until April, correct? So can I still apply even though the admission deadline is in March?
Absolutely. That's a great
Okay.
question. Yes.
Yeah.
We realize that everyone will have courses in progress and not finish until the end of April, but the application deadline's March 1st. And
Yeah.
it's perfectly fine if the social work 201 course is being done in the winter.
Okay, and then with that being said, if I do it through Athabasca, is that still relevant, or is it only for U of C that it's still applicable?
No, you can definitely take it through Athabasca. Just don't wait too long to apply for it because you need it to be finished by the end of April.
Okay, great. And one more question. I am Métis, and I've been having trouble getting my status because my grandfather's church burned down on the reservation, and so they didn't have the records, but we finally got it together, but it's still going to take a while for me to get my status. Can I still apply as Indigenous, or should I just wait and then like deal with that later?
I don't know if I believe if you identify as Indigenous, then you can say you're Indigenous. That's up to you.
Okay, yeah, I do have the official records. It's just like getting the actual paperwork has been kind of a nightmare. So yeah, maybe I'll call the Indigenous recruiter and ask her.
Yeah, Jennifer, I'd encourage you to do that because we have heard of those situations, and it's on a one-on-one basis that we have to assess. But I'd highly encourage you to reach out. It's indigenous.recruiter@ucalgary.ca, and they also do virtual one-on-one meetings, so we can definitely help guide you through like the specific circumstances in that case.
Okay, awesome. All right, that's my questions. Thank you so much.
I have a quick question.
Okay, go ahead, Kayla.
Sorry, it's just going off the transfer credits again. So I attended a college and then recently am going to University of British Columbia, and I've only completed 3 courses through them. So how, like, because on my transcripts, it just says they're all transfer credits now. So how will you get my grades for all the 30 credits I had taken previously?
You will need to submit your transcripts from every institution that you've attended. So
Okay.
every institution in Alberta will send transcripts electronically to the University of Calgary. You authorize that as part of your application. But if you've attended a university, college, high school, anything outside of Alberta, any post-secondary or high school, you need to have those transcripts hard copy mailed to the University of Calgary. I shouldn't say hard copy.
Okay.
Some of them still transfer it electronically, but it's in a different mode. But you have to request them.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, well, we've reached 8:01. Oh, is there one more question?
It was just really quick, jumping off of Jennifer's question regarding the social work 201 in the winter term. How do you know if we've completed it? Like, is it just, do we put it on our application that we're taking it, or?
Yes.
Yeah, you just put it on your application that you're.
It is it's one of the program questions as you're going through the application. It's asks you if you're aware of the requirement of social work 201 and if you've taken it. So then you indicate where and when you've taken it.
Gotcha. Thank you.
I have a last question, please.
Okay.
So I wanted to know if international students can fully take part in the VLC course and VLC route, yeah. Because I know they have like a percentage aside COVID that we're taking Zoom, they have a percentage to partake fully in online courses.
We have returned to face-to-face programming, and there is a face-to-face residency for 1 week each winter term. So I believe that would make it difficult for an international student to get the documents, the education documents, to be able to enter the country for just 1 week.
Sorry, I'm already here.
Oh, you're here. Okay. If you're living here, then yes, you could definitely do that. I believe that, yeah, as long as you're willing to attend the residencies for the week in January or February each year, then you can do it.
Okay, all right, thank you.
So I see Samantha's asking how long to hear back. Usually the end of May, early June is the latest for admissions. That's our goal anyway.
But on the other hand, don't lose heart if you haven't heard yet by them, because there is a, you know, we do maintain a wait list as well and continue to offer spots June, July, and even August.
Yeah, but if you are put on the wait list, though, we do let people know that they're waitlisted. Right, you know, around mid-June, we'll have notified all the waitlist people, so they know if they're on the wait list as well. Okay, so I think I'm gonna wrap it up here so that we can all get to our evening routines. Thank you all for attending. Those great questions, and I hope I didn't put you to sleep. Have a great night.
Yeah, thanks everybody for your interest in the BSW program, and thanks to my colleagues, Camille, TJ, and Patty Jo for co-facilitating this session. Have a great night, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Thank you.